5, 6, 7, 8.
What if?
What if? What if? What if, Tara?
Every time.
What if?
Every time that's our intro word. What if?
What if?
I love it. All right, here we go. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Gilmore to Say with Tara and Haley. I'm Tara. This is Haley. Hi, Haley.
Hi, Tara. What if?
You're so mellow today.
What if? Yellow? Mellow yellow?
Mellow yellow. Oh, it's such a good color as we're heading into August.
Well, I forgot that this was like the first episode of August. It's August 5th. And I was going to wear my August tee.
Famously my fave.
It's a little crop top. It's orange. It says a line from the song. I forget which one. One of the ones from
hope
August.
Of it all.
That's not it. It's something else, but it's from August. Maybe I'll wear it in last week's episode, which we're actually going to record tomorrow.
Yeah.
So
doing a little out of order. Don't know why. Don't know why we chose this for ourselves, but that's okay.
But that is what we did.
Yeah. But anyway, happy August, y'all. It is the start of like my favorite month trio. I know a lot of people love the Burr month, September, October, November, which
I August in there.
I do too, but I really love the trio of August, September, October. It is just a really lovely and yummy little transition from summer into fall, our favorite season. So I'm really excited about that. We have some really fun things planned for the fall.
Know. Oh my
we're
gosh.
just getting closer
Literally,
and closer to
it's
Gilmore Girls
next
fall.
month.
I can't believe it.
It's so close. Recently,
so close.
someone was like, okay, we're going back to school. Like all of these things are happening. I'm like, whoa, that's so true. Summer just started though.
It feels like it just started. And for all intents and purposes, when we're recording, it kind of has. But it hasn't just started, but we're still like, when we're recording this, it's still mid-July. So it's like
hot summer nights,
we're putting
mid-July.
ourselves into this headspace, but it's so close.
It's
And
so
I love
close. I'm really excited. I'm gonna have to wait and see like at the end of August if I'm like truly ready for that September 1st. We're going to Stars Hollow, breathing deep, folks. It's still summer, but it smells like fall. I'm interested to see because like I feel like it alternates various years. Like I'm like dead set ready for fall, or I'm like no, I still want summer.
Oh,
But
totally.
we'll see.
I remember that it's kind of oscillated with you.
Yeah,
You sometimes feel one way and then the other. And I get it. Totally understand.
yeah. Lately though, I'm ready for fall. It's been 95 degrees every day this week, and I'm like,
yeah, no.
I want to go
It's
for a
just
nice outside walk.
I know.
I want to breeze.
I want a little breeze, a little crisp in the air. But for
Yeah.
now, it's still summer, and I'm
summer.
really excited about today's episode. This is something that we've been talking about doing for a while, which is kind of rewriting season 7 of Gilmore Girls.
Yeah.
Famously, it is one of the lesser liked seasons for many reasons. Oh,
Yeah.
didn't mean for that to rhyme. But as we were watching it, as y'all know, because we've talked about it the last 2 weeks, we're continuing to yap about it now. We just finished watching it on Patreon, and we had a lot to say about it as it was unfolding. But what we took note of as we were going through it, and we mentioned this in our season 7 recap, is that there were certain aspects to it that we wrote down, like, here's what we would change, because I wanted to remember. And I'm so glad I did, because we wouldn't have remembered any of this had I not written it down.
Have.
And so,
I mean, even not like having it written down, like going through some of, because we asked y'all about some of these aspects in a question box, scrolling back through, I was like, oh my God, I forgot about this and this and this.
Yeah.
There's like a couple of things that we didn't mention in our recap episode that I'm going to be like, did you actually think about this or did you just not include it?
Ooh, okay.
That I have questions about. But
I'm excited because I didn't read any of those. I'm really excited to like dive in with our
Yeah.
besties.
But at the end of every episode, Tara would ask me, what would we change? Because we talked about it throughout the episode as we went through. And there were a couple episodes that like by the time we had like listed everything we were changed, we were like, so the whole episode.
The whole episode.
There were a couple that like didn't have as many as others. But there were a lot. There were a lot of changes.
Totally. And to be fair, there are a lot of things in here. There are a lot of episodes in here where we didn't write anything. It's not that we wouldn't change it. It's just moreover that we were like, we just didn't like it. Or we just felt like it was kind of weak. And we didn't necessarily have anything to offer. But maybe as we go through them, it'll kind of jog our creativity.
Yeah.
But yeah, you know, we've been talking about doing this I think since we started the podcast, because people have asked us, like, what would you rewrite about season 7? How do you think Amy and Dan would have approached season 7? And that question is very difficult to answer. But for us, you know, in how we would maybe rewrite some of that, I didn't want to consider that until we watched season 7 because I thought that was unfair. I was like, you know, it's one of my lesser watched seasons, and I didn't want to do that until we had really gotten a chance to sink our teeth into it. We watch on Patreon when we do Gilmore Revisited these episodes with a very, very discerning eye. And so we criticize them a lot more than we would if we were just sitting back, relaxing, and watching our favorite TV show. So it was a lot easier to talk about what we would shift, change, rewrite altogether after having watched it with that magnifying glass.
Yeah. When you're taking notes on it, it's such a different experience. Like an episode that's like a 6 can turn into an episode that's a 10 when you're just laying back and watching it and chilling.
Absolutely.
But if you're like taking notes, you're like, you like really, really have to think about it. 'Cause a lot of people, I feel like maybe think we're being a little bit harsh about it. But like when you watch it that intensely, you kind of like start to really feel what's missing versus like when you just kind of chilling, you're like, these are my friends and my characters. It's on in the background.
Yeah, exactly. So let's start at the beginning. We're going to go through this first, and then we're going to share our thoughts. And once we do that, kind of share a little bit about what you guys wrote to us on Instagram in the forms of what you would rewrite, and also some what ifs. I was laughing at some of the what ifs. I can't wait to read some of them to you. They're really funny. But let's start with some rewrites, what we would change. Yeah. And it's really not until we get to French Twist that I started writing down what we would change. But before that, we have 6 whole episodes. We have The Long Morrow, which we really didn't enjoy that opener, as we talked about in our recap 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. And like divisively, we felt very differently about The Rocket.
We did, yeah.
I would have rewritten The Rocket.
What would you have rewritten it to?
That's the thing I don't know, and I didn't know then. But it was like, it just felt like so out of the blue and so like such a small random gift that he needed her to remember in order to tell her he was going to get her a ticket for Christmas. It just felt really wrong. It felt out of character for some reason.
Yeah.
And I wasn't into it, but you liked it. That was a no sparkly heart for us.
Yeah, that was a no sparkly heart for us. I liked the rocket. I thought that the symbolism there was really cool. What I understand and agree with you on in not liking it is that it's out of context for... We don't get the context has to be told to us. And
yes.
I think that's what we didn't like about a lot of season 7 is that like they started pulling things out of nowhere that we were just like, where did this come from?
Yeah, lots of exposition to explain what was happening right in front of us.
Yeah, instead of giving us something to rely on that maybe could have been a callback to something we had seen, which I think would have given us a deeper appreciation for a token like or a gift like the rocket.
Yeah.
The
like
rocket,
a wallet to match your purse.
Yeah, to match her Birkin bag. But I liked the symbolism. It just would have been a lot more substantiated had we seen them watch The Twilight Zone together. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Or just, pull from something that already existed.
The other thing that I wrote down here, despite, not writing anything in these episodes of what we would change, were plot lines and scenes that were recycled. And so I kind of want to take you through that. So in The Long Morrow, there is a scene with Babette and Lorelai and Paul Anka that is very similar to this scene between Patty, Lorelai, and Paul Anka in Partings. So I don't know if that was just like, we're recycling this because Babette is watching Paul Anka while Lorelai, I believe she was at Chris's or she's trying to figure out what to do. And it's giving the same energy that we had in the last scene. So I think we would have liked to see something different. Luke, once again, is like all grumpy gills because he and Lorelai have broken up, and it's giving so good talk where like no one will come into the diner. He's throwing people out of the diner. And while I appreciate that being a through line for him and something that is just a characteristic that like when things are going wrong in his personal life, i.e. with Lorelai, he is going to be crabby. We saw the same thing with Nicole. I am not wearing my socks. That does seem like a trait of his, but it did feel a little like, okay, we're recycling this. Rory and Luke wave at each other at one point. Like they kind of give this very weird little wave, and it was giving so good talk when they break up the first time in season 5. And then
out the limo, waving out the window.
I'm not usually
not
in a
the
limo.
window, the limo.
And then the whole traffic light camera thing, of course, where Kirk drives his car drives Taylor's car into the diner, is giving red light on the wedding night. And so no one crashes in red light on the wedding night.
I was like, wait, what?
In the installation of this new thing in town. So
the red light, yeah.
Yeah. And I couldn't decide whether or not I liked it or whether I wished that something else had happened. But those were some things that we pointed out that felt like plot lines and scenes that were recycled instead of coming up with something a little newer, a little fresher.
Yeah.
That's what you get, folks, for making Whoopi. I know you and I both really didn't love the scene, the Asia scene.
Yeah.
Or less that we didn't like it, more that we wish there wasn't so much cultural appropriation, which we weren't sure if they were super aware of when they wrote this episode back in 2006, 2007. So I think we would have shifted that. Is there anything that you would have done differently? I like the idea of her being like, I'm bringing Asia to you because you couldn't go to Asia.
Yeah. They could have done it differently. It's like a lot of the things it was really just like in the dialogue and the presentation of it. I feel like there was a way to have done it that wasn't quite as offensive of like, it was really a lot of what they were saying.
Yeah.
They could have presented that differently because I like the idea that she's trying to cheer her up. I don't know that that's the best way to cheer her up though, because she wanted to go with her boyfriend. It's different when your mom takes you home.
Yeah, I get that. The next few episodes we really enjoyed compared to the first 2 episodes. Lorelai's First Cotillion, Wonderful, Marvelous, The Great Stink, and Go Bulldogs. And so I don't think we'd necessarily change anything throughout those. I didn't write anything down.
The only thing I remember from The Great Stink really wanting to change was Logan being like, hey, do you want to come to dinner tonight with me and my colleagues?
Yes, that is the one thing I did write down for that episode, was that we felt like it was kind of a plot line recycled where Logan wasn't clear about what their plans were, and it subsequently gives Rory this impetus to be like, I was really confused, and then he doesn't really understand or accept that like he messed up. It's giving like, let's hang out in season 5, and she comes over and all the boys are there playing poker. It was very similar.
What does he say? It's not a very specific boy girl thing. But yeah, but it feels like more intense in this one because they are together and he's not giving her any of the details. And then as she's explaining why she's confused by all of this, he's really pushing it back onto her and being like, I get it. You miss me. And it's like, oh, okay.
All right.
That was real start the downfall of Logan Huntsberger in season 7.
Yeah, you're not wrong. But that was one of the things I wrote down because I was like, I didn't love that. And I remember not loving the way that Logan kind of dismisses, or a lot of people feel like he gaslights her in that moment in season 5 when he's like, well, I didn't think it was like a specific boy girl thing. Like, I don't know. You called. I wanted to see you. I said, let's hang out. You know, like he kind of tells her why she was wrong to feel that way. And that's something that I like don't do well with in my real life. He like walks her in a circle. Yeah, exactly. And I felt like he did the same thing here. And then the only other thing, which I mentioned in our recap, that I really wish they had pulled at this thread a little bit more in Go Bulldogs, which I thought was a fantastic episode.
Yeah, we loved that one.
I really wish that they had implemented Harvey, the produce guy, the vegetable guy, into Suki's storyline. I think that would have just... Not that we needed like an affair or anything, nothing nefarious. I just mean to say like...
It was a vegetable affair.
Yes, the conflict of it, I think, would have injected like new life into the Suki Jackson storyline that didn't necessarily...
Suki Jackson, just like the overall vibes that we were missing that like quirks. Feel like season 1.
Totally.
Yes.
Totally.
Man. Harvey the veggie guy.
I really wish we had seen more of him. I thought that it was a really good storyline, and you know, I'm glad it was in that story. I just wish it wasn't isolated to that episode. And I wish we could have pulled at it a little more.
Do you think though that if they would have pulled at it, they would have pulled at it too hard?
Oh, these writers? Yes.
Okay.
I think they probably.
I still want to talk to them.
Not like
not in like a we're gonna read this whole list to you. Sort of way, but just in a like how did y'all land at all?
How did this go? Yeah, totally. So that brings us to French twist, which I have the most notes on here as to what we would change. And I know we're going to talk about it a little later because one of the biggest what ifs, and I'm sure also was a big suggestion in rewrites, comes from Lorelai and Christopher's relationship. And of 100%. Course, them getting married in Paris. Yep. But here's what I wrote down that we would change. Chris and Lorelai should have seen Sherry, and Sherry should have given Lorelai the reassurance that Anna couldn't give her in Gigi and Chris. Sherry could have also set up their dinner reservation that they slept through. Yeah. Because we felt like, I don't know, there's just the whole storyline there was really disjointed. I wish they literally went there Sherry
to give Gigi to Sherry. So and not seeing Sherry felt weird.
Yeah. And it would have been really interesting to see Sherry almost give her blessing to Lorelai in a way that Anna was incapable of doing, to kind of juxtapose those things. I don't know what that necessarily would have done for the storyline on the whole, but in the moment, Lorelai feeling like Christopher was offering her something that Luke couldn't, I think that it would have pushed at that a little bit harder.
Yeah.
And maybe made me believe more that that is why she agrees to marry him right there in Paris.
Yeah. And I also feel like there is an element of that storyline of them in Paris that feels really dull. Like, how did you guys go to Paris and make it really dull? And it's probably because it's all interiors, except for when they're walking down that one street and they're yelling at the bread man. That I feel like adding in Sherry could have added like a dynamicness to the story overall. And there's that one cut scene that we don't know what it is.
We'll never
where they're like walking through that market.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But it would have been interesting to see her.
Yeah.
And to have her, again, offer something to the storyline, because it is a similar, not the same, but a similar situation where Chris is now dealing with co-parenting with Sherry.
International co-parenting.
Yeah, and that's very complicated. And Lorelai felt very excluded from that when it came to Luke and Anna. And to feel more welcomed in, I think would have made it more understandable why they just spontaneously decided to get married in Paris, and why she felt so confident that with Chris it would be different. And that like she could see that between the two of them, she was being welcomed into this, which I think was the insinuation, is that she was being more welcomed into this, especially given the conversations that she and Chris have when it comes to Gigi leading up to French twist.
Like with the letter, like Chris immediately shows her the letter from Sherry.
Yes.
And she assumes that he's going to be hiding it. And so we're like building up to that idea that this is going to feel very similar to her last relationship. And I would have loved like more touch points to indicate that it's not, to really push her over the edge to get married.
Yeah. I completely agree. I think it would have made us understand a little bit more. It just feels so random. And I think that it would have made the episode on the whole a lot brighter, a lot more active, because it just, like you said, feels like it's a ton of interiors. It's a lot of them just yapping at each other. And I'm like, give me some more action. They're like, oh, it was good to see Sherry. I'm like, show me Sherry. Stop like talking. And that's what I really didn't love about season 7, is that they talk about a lot of characters, or they're on the phone with characters that we never actually see. And it's like, show them to me. Give me the story. Show yourself.
Would you have accepted it, like this storyline, if they couldn't get the original Sherry? Like fake Mia, fake Sherry.
No, I would have hated fake Sherry. No.
Fairy.
Fairy. Yeah, no. And maybe that was part of the conflict, is they wanted Sherry there, but they couldn't get her. And I get it.
Very fair. Fairy,
if you will. The next thing I wrote down here, I'm actually going to go out of order a little bit, because I think at the end of this episode is when we get a twist in and of itself. But first, Rory goes with Lucy and Olivia to Stars Hollow, and she has a breakdown. And so I wrote down, Rory's breakdown is so relatable, because she's, of course, like, what am I going to do next post-college? This is when they dye their hair, and they're at the Gilmore girls' house, rather. in Stars Hollow. And I said, Rory's breakdown is so relatable, but the way we get there is super clunky. She invites Lucy and Olivia to her house, where there are so many opportunities to reminisce on Rory's successes as she starts navigating college, coming to a close, and freaking out about what's next. Lucy and Olivia could have also come to the table with ways they're freaking out instead of being like, yeah, us too. I'm freaking out too. No, I thought... That's genuinely what they do. They're like, do you think that we're not freaking out too, Rory? I'm freaked out. Freaking out.
No, because this could have like easily been like in the flashback scene that she has like near the end of the season when she's at Chilton. That's exactly what they're wanting us to feel, is that like she hit her peak in high school, and that they are now asking her to leave in her nightmare version of it because she's not meant to be there. Like everything that she built for was not actually going to happen. And I would have loved to see that like fear manifest like in reality and not just in a dream world. And the perfect setup was to have two people who did not grow up with you come to your house and be like, whoa, you were like very smart. I mean, to be fair, they go to Yale too, so they were also very smart. But it's just like, they can reflect on it because Rory's the main character.
Yeah, I wish that we had seen more of that. Them going through her house and being like, "Wait, you were valedictorian? Oh my god, this is amazing! You're so cool!"
Yeah.
Or like things like
box.
this. Yeah, just reminiscing on her high school years where she felt like she was so self-assured, and now she's sitting amidst this very new territory for her, which is the storyline. Like that's the thread they pull at for the remainder of the season with her, is that Rory's a little lost. And so I think I would have had a deeper appreciation, because again, this breakdown is so understandable, and we talk about that on Patreon, that it's like, it's so understandable to feel like, shit, where am I going? Like, oh my God, ending college is crazy, ending high school is crazy. But Rory always felt a sense of direction. Now she doesn't anymore. And that's relatable. But you have to give us the right tools to make that relatable.
Yeah. And I feel like it's like honestly any age. Like Rory's breakdown of like, I don't know what I'm doing with my life is like, could be any of us. Could be us right now. Luckily I do know what I'm doing with my life. So but I do appreciate a nice breakdown every now and then.
Yeah, we all need a little nervous breakdown. Always good for
works wonders for
a girl. It's true.
Yeah.
But that leads us to the end of the episode, where of course we are reintroduced to Marty, boyfriend. And
when you said the big twist, I was like, wait, what? We already talked about them getting married. The real twist. We've got French and we've got twist.
Yes, we certainly do.
Oh, no.
So here's the thing, is that we took a lot of issue, of course, as a lot of people did, with Marty in season 7. But here's how we feel like it could have made a little bit of sense if they chose to bring him back, because the twist of him being Lucy's boyfriend is clever. Like,
excellent.
Don't mind it at all. It's the way they then went about executing it. So this is what I wrote down. We would have loved for Marty to go by a new nickname or something like Martin instead of boyfriend.
Or that was his
name. That like, well, yeah.
His nickname.
You know, his full
Marty
name
was the nickname.
Yeah. That
he's
like
serious now.
Lucy is calling him Martin. And so she's
or
just
by
like,
his last name, we said.
Or by his last name, something like that.
Which we don't know.
His last name. So that the reason behind him pretending not to know Rory would have made sense, because he has now reinvented himself. It's almost like post Rory Gilmore, I've reinvented myself. I'm feeling good. I want to start over. I don't want to remember the days.
I want to start over.
Yeah. I want to remember the days when I was not naked guy. Like, I'm a new guy, which is why.
I'm a clothed guy.
I'm a clothed
They call
man.
him clothes. Because he's always got clothes on.
He's always got clothes on. So that's the thing, is that like, I think that it would have made more sense, and it would have made Marty look like less of a douchebag if he was like, look, I have spent the last 2 years like really getting away from the naked guy. And so I'm just trying to start over. So let's start over. And that's why he's pretending not to know her. Because if that's the road you want to take, fine, but you can't make him look like a complete douche as he does it, because for all intents and purposes, we talked about how Marty was always like the pick-me guy, you know, and like, oh, I'm always the like nice guys finish last kind of trope. But it's like, it didn't have to be that way. It kind of gets amplified in season 7. And I think that had we left him where he was in season 5, we would have maybe felt bad for him and been like, oh man, sorry, Marty, that's a bummer. But this just makes him look like an asshole. It makes him look like but what about me? I'm a nice guy. And I'm like, well, clearly you're not.
You're actually not. Like,
kind
at
of
no
not.
point do I feel like you're a nice guy. The other part of it that I wondered about is why Lucy doesn't know who Rory is. Because I feel like if you have like this kind of like, not even breakup, but just like situation where you thought you liked a girl, because he stalked Lucy into a relationship. And so it's like, I feel like that would come up, that it's like, how have you ever, like, has this ever worked before?
Yeah.
And it's like, he didn't really stalk Rory. They like became friends. And then that, I don't know. I just feel like maybe it would have come up at some point that like there was this girl, Rory. He liked her. She liked another guy. He was such a douche, like hated him. And like it really messed him up. Something like that. That like
Totally.
She would learn about that if they had been together for a period of time.
I agree. Yeah.
And he's like, this is Rory. I would have liked that more of
Ooh.
like, you know, Rory? This is Rory. And it's like, you're Rory.
You're Rory. Oh, God. Yeah. Yeah. That would have been really interesting. Yeah, just something else. I felt like this writing, again, it was like a lot of season 7 to me, or a good amount of season 7, because there were some storylines that I'm like, why did we go in this direction? But for the most part, on the whole, it's that they had good bones, but they didn't know like what to do with them. They didn't know how to build the house. And again, sheet cake. So, you know, kind of moving into introducing Lorelei Planetarium, we wrote down like, for this, lots of setup, no vibes, all interior scenes. So it's like we wanted more outside scenes.
Or transition scenes.
Transitions, something that gave us like the Gilmore Girls vibes. Because even when we had like a lot of setup and no vibes episodes in seasons 1 through 6, it still felt like Gilmore Girls. And I think we needed more of that energy. But plot lines that we felt were kind of recycled or revisited this is of course when we get Let Them Drink Cosmos. And that's the article that Rory writes about
the party
that she goes to.
Like
where she
judging
meets,
all these rich people.
Exactly. And so it's giving kind of this like die jerk revisited energy. And Logan's speech is also kind of giving like, why did you drop out of Yale energy?
Yeah. That was horrible though. Like every time I think about that, like after, I don't think I would be in a relationship with them.
No.
After that happened. But then they come back and she's like, I like your hair. And he's like, I like your teeth. We're together again. No one's mad.
Weird. No one's mad.
So weird.
But then on the topic of Logan, we get no backstory or explanation on why he's now living in New York.
This
None.
is where the confusion of Logan really truly begins.
Yeah.
Because you're like, why are you here? You going to London was actually like a huge plot point. And now you've erased it? Mm-hmm. And for what?
Yeah.
We cried.
Yeah.
We cried when you hobbled to the
It's true. You
elevator.
hobbled on over there. And there was no real explanation. This is episode 8.
Yeah.
We're
too far into this.
Truly. The other component to this that was just a giant question mark is why Luke calls Lorelei about April's appendix. And she shows up to the hospital. And we also talked about how Chris was like totally fine with her going and then suddenly isn't fine with Luke later. That was also just kind of disjointed and weird. But when he calls her, I just needed more impetus as to why he calls her. And then when she does arrive at the hospital and they're there, the doctor comes out and is like, oh, you and your wife. And it's like, oh, she's not my wife. And he sees her wedding ring. And it's giving like Emily seeing Lorelei's engagement ring at Rory's 21st birthday party. And
when she's engaged to Luke.
So that was kind of like, I couldn't tell if that was a recycled plot or a recycled scene or more of like a parallel moment in a very like weird way.
Also,
probably
it's
wasn't
like
even
a little bit
intentional.
of like I was going to say it's like maybe more of like a cliche of like someone sees your ring and you're like, oh, I am married. I didn't mean for you to find out this way. Like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
You know what? A rewrite that would have been super easy for Luke is to just press 1 on his speed dial. Like he was like, it was the easiest person to call was Lorelei.
That's true.
And she's one because she's number one.
Because she's number one.
So just like not even thinking about it. And I kind of see that. Like, I kind of see that, like, in a moment of crisis, the first person he thinks to call is Lorelai. I wish there had been something that led up to that. Because, like, the last time you guys talked, you were an asshole. You were so fucking rude to that woman.
Yeah.
So there's that part of it that I kind of, like, go back and forth on. Kind of on the fence about that. Because I can see the thought process if it had been like the first episode, but like so much time has passed and you've been so mean to her, and we don't even know that you're still pining for her because that scene got deleted from The Great Stink.
But then as we move into Knit People Knit, you know, we also feel like some of the Luke scenes are a little clunky, but a lot of what we're moving into is this whole introduction of the custody battle, which, you know, we didn't love. We thought was really drab and dark and turned the show into more of a drama than it needed to,
but only in those scenes.
I agree, but I think that's the reason why.
For those scenes.
Yeah, I just think that's the reason why they like had Lorelai going to the hospital to like remind us that like she's a mother and like she's gonna care about
she is a mom.
Luke and his custody and you know all of that. But it's just kind of like, I don't know. I just felt like there was a better way to introduce I don't know. I just didn't understand why they had to bring Lorelai in to the hospital. I guess it was an excuse to like reintroduce her into this for the custody battle and also for Luke to now know that she and Chris are married.
Yeah, I think that was what was confusing about it, is because it didn't have like a direct path from it that where we were reminding the audience that like Luke and Lorelai should be together and she'll always show up for him and he'll always call upon her and she'll call upon him and they'll show up regardless of what has happened between them. Mm-hmm. Or is it, to like reintroduce this idea that Lorelai is really dependable and someone who will always show up for him and by means of the custody battle and the recommendation, what is it? The character reference. We'll say the recommendation letter. I recommend him as a father.
Just a recommendation letter.
But I don't think that it did a good job with the former aspect of it, like the rekindling of the romance of like showing that they're meant to be together. Like I felt like that kind of came out of the blue later on. It really relied on our understanding and our desire for them to be together, I think. Mm-hmm. But I can see how they were like, she's going to be someone who's going to show up for him. Let's bring her into the custody battle. Mm-hmm. And maybe this is in retrospect and I felt very differently during the watching of this, but I think the custody battle could have been better if they would have just lightened things up a bit. Is a custody battle room for lightness and levity and ha-ha-hee-hees? No. Yeah,
probably not.
There's so many things that like in this show, like that they can button with something that can like lighten the mood, that there's something that can happen, that like a character acts in such a way that in that situation is situationally funny, or just dialogue that's clever. But we enter into this like bleakness, like his lawyer is just useless. You will lose. And it's like, okay, well, I'm not going to, but it's not because of you.
I know. Yeah. Also didn't like that guy. Would have taken him out.
Yeah. Jim McNally. Fired.
Yeah.
So I think there's an aspect to it too of like even his lawyer knew Anna's lawyer. So I think they could have played off it there. Like there's so many elements of it that like serious things happen in Gilmore Girls. I think this is one of the more serious things to happen is a custody battle. But I still think that there's a way to do it that didn't feel quite so harsh.
No, I totally agree.
And humorless and just totally tonally from a completely different CW show.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And I know that like in some ways it was heading that way in season 6, but I wonder if Amy would have done that. I wonder if Amy would have implemented this custody battle.
I don't know. See, that's the thing is a lot of people's like what ifs that they submitted in the Instagram question box were what if Amy and Dan had written it? And I was like, I don't know, girly.
We'll have to ask them.
Big question mark. And like they'll never answer because like she said before that she doesn't want to like step upon season 7 despite the fact that she did not like it. Like because she didn't write it and it's not the story that she would have done. But I don't think she's going to nitpick it because just like professionally, like it would be quite rude to go back through this show that you wrote the first 6 seasons of and just say what you would have changed. Though we would love it. We would love it.
Totally. Totally.
So I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. I would have liked to say that there would have been something not quite as harsh if that was the case. And I think it might have been more interesting for them to try and figure it out on their own. Like to not get the courts involved.
You're
court.
so right.
That
The court.
room. It's not really the court. It's a mediation room.
Professor Bell is the bailiff.
Yeah. The judge.
The judge. Yeah. No, I totally agree. Going back to the Marty storyline, something we talked about here is wondering why Paris didn't spill the beans at the party.
Wait, that's actually
early
something I was going to
party.
Yeah.
About Rory and Marty.
I was going to bring that up earlier.
It's like, I'm so surprised that they didn't utilize the fact that she knew Marty, and like, why would that not have come out at the party, at Lucy's birthday party?
No, I think that this could have been set up way earlier, actually. And we didn't talk much about Swonderful Marvelous, but that's when she met them. And that's when she said, oh, we knew this girl who worked for the paper, Paris Geller. Like, we're obsessed with her.
Totally.
And I think that it's like, we know someone who used to know her. And then we meet Marty, and it's like, oh, this is the person that they know that used to know Paris. And they're obsessed with her because this person, like, not introduced it, but like made us aware of this person and how like insane she is. And like, he doesn't like her. We don't have to go that in depth into it.
Totally.
But like, we find her fascinating. And so when we get to that point, it's like, yeah. And like Paris used to know this girl. Like he used to know her through this girl that, like, I don't know, maybe there's some negative connotation about it.
I could totally see Lucy being like, we know someone who knows someone. We know someone who knew someone who was best friends with Paris Geller, like a long time ago. Like, or we know someone who knew someone, but they don't know each other anymore. But that person knew Paris Geller. Like, and they're like, I could totally see Lucy saying that, and she's like, okay.
Yeah.
And then you find out.
Not even that obvious, but then like when we get to the point where like, oh, Marty was the connection.
Yeah.
And like, it just seems like because they like are so into Paris that like Marty would have brought that up at some point.
100%.
So I just feel like that could have been an interesting little connection. But when Paris doesn't say anything about Marty, what?
I know.
She hated him.
She like, they totally had a really hilariously punchy relationship. And so I'm really surprised that they didn't utilize that like there wasn't, and I don't know if it would have felt a little too sitcom for Paris to be like, hey, Marty, what's up? And it's like, you know Marty? And she's like, yeah, of course I know Marty. And like, you know, for that to come out, and it's like, oh, don't say anything. Yeah. Like, you know, they could have done something to that effect. And I'm really surprised that they didn't.
I would have liked that more than Logan getting involved because
you hated that.
Like, I just like the whole idea that like Marty was still into Rory because when they're like drunk or whatever, sitting on the couch, and he's like, and you're more beautiful than ever. Ugh. And I'm just like, ugh. Like, it's just so annoying because like Logan should be way more confident than that and be like, yeah, you are gorgeous. Like, fuck him. Like, that's so weird for him to say to my girlfriend.
He's so confident.
Whatever.
And it's so funny because later he's very confident in the
ruining
crush.
Things?
No. In the crush that she has on the TA. Yeah. He's like, I don't care.
Tucker,
and I'm like, why do you care so deeply about Marty? I guess because they had a friendship, but I just cannot see Logan being jealous of or threatened by Marty.
No.
And that's kind of the insinuation there.
I like you,
no
Rory.
Sense.
I like Logan.
And famously.
And it's like not made apparent. It's very much implied that he's jealous until the next episode. Because I think it's Mary Fisticuffs that they go to have Indian food.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's in the next episode that we learn that like he apologized because he was jealous. I'm like, why? Like, A team is jealous of like the Z team? No.
I know. Yeah. So weird. So moving into Mary Fisticuffs, of course, like we talk about how this is a really tough watch, but
this one was really hard.
This one was really hard. But one of the things we really wish that we had seen was, you know, Emily kind of sensing some things might be off between Chris and Lorelai, prompts her to take this visit. And we have like an Emily jump scare. She's sitting in the dark on her porch.
She would never sit on that bench on the porch.
Absolutely not. She'd wait in her car. But I just wish that we would have gotten maybe from Emily like I think you may want to reconsider your marriage.
And
or
I think
something to that effect.
Wouldn't that make Lorelai fight harder?
I think so too. Yeah.
Like,
I don't know. I didn't make a mistake. You're the one that's been saying to me for years that I belong with Chris, and now Emily's
this is your dream.
Yeah, but I mean, I think Emily's perspective on that shifted over the years. Obviously, we saw what she did in Wedding Bell Blues, or rather, Come Home. But I do think that over the years, she's understood that like Chris is not necessarily the one for Lorelai, and it would have been really interesting for her to come to that conclusion before Lorelai did.
I would have loved that. I also would have loved, because famously in Come Home, she says, "I've never thought much of you." That
and I think that's kind of true still.
Yeah, to recognize that when it comes to being a husband and being a partner, that it's like, well, you're no Richard. You're more on the Howard spectrum of that, if we're quoting Gilmore Girls only. That I don't see that as something that she would have maybe held on to just for the sake of holding on to it, for decorum's sake, if you will.
Totally.
I think she would have, the whole point of her going there was to like give her a little pep talk, it felt like. Like marriage is hard, you need to work harder vibes. Yeah. And I don't know. I go back and forth on that, actually, because then it would admit that Lorelai was doing it right.
Right.
That like, I kind of wish it would have been like, you're both messing this up.
Right.
This could have been good.
Yeah, totally.
I'm like, I'm unrewriting it.
I know. I'm torn on it, and I'm curious what our besties have to say about that, because
I think it's because I want that. I want from her. I want Emily to go to her and be like, this is a mistake.
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing?
But is that too on the nose?
Or is that true to her character?
Right.
And how she sees Lorelai.
Okay.
I don't know.
Curious what our listeners think. As we move into Santa's Secret stuff, we had a lot to say about how we would have rewritten this scene, and the whole mechanism of Luke asking Lorelai to write this reference letter. First of all, we proposed the idea of Rory writing the letter instead of Lorelai, because Rory saw Luke as kind of a father figure throughout her life, that it may have been an interesting plot point. It would have been a la, obviously just different circumstances, but Luke going to Lorelai and being like, hey, I'd really love for Rory to write this reference letter, a la, hey, I really want Rory to tutor Jess.
Yeah. But different.
Because
he just wanted Jess to pass school.
Yeah.
Pass his classes. He wants a daughter. His daughter specifically.
Yeah, that's true. But it does have to do with him being kind of a father figure in both capacities, in a much more real capacity Rory. Here. And Rory kind of, swooping in to save the day. I think that would have been interesting, and it would have been a really interesting stance for Lorelai to take on, like, and I would have understood more of Chris being threatened by that, by being 100%. Like
100%.
Oh,
finding that letter.
Yeah. That Rory had more of a father figure in her life than me. We saw this in Go Bulldogs in a very different capacity, that he realizes how absent he was. And so I think that I would have enjoyed seeing a little bit of that play out. But knowing where they choose to take it, and that Lorelai writes this letter, we didn't love the way that Luke just kind of like shows up at the inn and is like, hey, will you write this letter? But we thought maybe,
hey, you want to write a letter for me? Full of good things. Like, it's weird.
What I wrote down here is that it would have been really interesting if Lorelai had run into Luke in town, like at Dosey's or something, and then like, they're kind of like awkwardly like, oh, hey, how are you? Like, what's going on? And he's like, oh, well, I'm in the middle of this custody battle. And she's like, what? And, they kind of get to talking, and she either volunteers to write the letter, like very inadvertently, the way Lorelai does, where she'll just like blurt something out. But I could see her being like, well, if you need like a reference, I'm happy to. And then she goes back to Suki and is like, why did I
just volunteered for this?
Yeah. Totally.
What would have, to play on that, to like add to it, the person that he did ask for the reference initially was Liz. I think it would have been interesting to have her run into Luke and Liz.
Ooh, yeah.
And Liz be like, this is what I've included. And like Lorelai being like, that doesn't sound so good. And maybe just being like, if you need someone else, I'm happy
here
to help out.
Totally.
And then Luke shows up at the end like, did you
like
hear what she was going to
up.
include?
Yeah. I'd like to take you up on your offer.
Yeah.
Kind of a thing. And I just think I needed more nuance instead of him just randomly coming to the inn and being like, I need to talk to you. You know?
I need to talk to
you. Want to write a letter? It's just the way, and like we didn't love the montage.
It was the hand that you put up like he's wearing a glove. You want to write a letter? Let me get you a pen.
We've got magic to do. Like, I don't know why I'm thinking of the kids.
We've got letters to do. We've got letters to write.
Yeah. So funny. But yeah, you know, I thought that just there could have been more nuance in the approach to this. Instead of this montage of Lorelai like instantly agreeing to write the letter, kind of hemming and hawing over it and like not knowing how to write it.
Montage.
The montage was weird. Included. She doesn't really talk about it with Suki. I wish she would have like told Luke, you know, if he was going to approach it this way and just show up to her work and ask her to do this after everything they've been through. If she had been like, I need to think about it. And he's like, okay. And she goes and like talks to Suki or Rory, does a pro con list. You know what I mean? And like lands on like, you know, maybe the end of the episode is like, I'm going to do this.
Yeah. I also would have loved for her to have been like, yeah, I'll write it. Write something, gives it to Suki. And Suki's like, yeah, I would totally hire him for a job. I would not let him have a child. Like, it's like, what is this? And like, there's some elements of it that Rory starts talking about. I'm having a hard time discerning what we talked about because we talked about this for a while on the Patreon episode on what we would want to see differently. And so I forget what actually happened versus what we talked about.
Totally.
But I like the idea of like Rory talking about Luke and like what kind of person he was. And no, this isn't the episode because they go see they go to the mall and they see April and Luke and talking about like the presents that Luke gave her and like kind of like inspiring that like Luke already was a father figure in her world. So I would have loved to have seen that sort of like transition, like seeing the bad version of her letter of like, Luke's great. Luke lives in my town, to something more heartfelt like that. But just like something to build up to it rather than just being like, write me a letter. Okay, give me a sec.
Exactly. I just thought that was so quick. And again, sheet cake.
Yeah. And that was another moment because Gigi was in there when they were talking about it. And the idea that this like 4 or 5-year-old, however this girl is supposed to be versus however old she actually is, she would totally bring it up. Because we were like talking that she would just like repeat like Luke Dane's stand-up guy. Like saying that to her dad. I would have loved to see that. Because like they get Gigi right. I think that she like has some good lines. She has some good dialogue. But like to think that child would sit there quietly and just say some asides throughout their conversation, wrong. Someone else is hearing like the full extent of what she said.
Totally
Like those writers have never been around a child that young.
No, but some of them are really funny. As we move into To Whom It May Concern, which of course concerns the entire letter, and we famously really didn't like this episode.
We were very concerned.
One of the things, of course, we talk about this is the vasectomy and talking about how we could have rewritten that. Maybe the vasectomy didn't work. Anything but him not actually getting the vasectomy and lying to his wife would have been great. But as you mentioned, some levity in the custody battle. But I think that what we needed was more of a layer cake, more nuance and complexity to Anna so that she doesn't come across as such an asshole in this episode because she totally does.
So rude.
She's just so mean. And it's like, how did we get here? How did we get to mean? We didn't need to get to mean. You know what I mean?
In part because
you know what I mean?
we didn't need to get to mean. You know what I mean? How did we get here? How did the Google Maps take us to here? But I think that in part because what they're talking about in the custody battle is that he works at a diner. He owns the diner is what he says. And at some point, April expresses that she is proud of him. Or not April, Anna, because she was there when this was starting.
Yeah.
And I don't know how we went from that there to that. I mean, to be fair, custody battle, like the worst of someone is going to come out, like your worst opinion of them, in order for you to get what you want. It reminded me of in the revival when Paris was telling Rory if she could mention that he felt her up at the Christmas party in the deposition.
No.
No. So there's like that aspect of it. But yeah, it just felt really out of the blue that she was that angry. But this was after he showed up at her house and like yelled at her, "I will fight you, Anna."
Yeah. And that's, I think, something we also wanted to change was like the way this custody battle was introduced. The way that Anna just so flippantly is like, "Hey, so we're going to move to New Mexico. Thanks so much for everything. Bye."
Like he was the babysitter for
like
the
he
summer.
was her babysitter. Yeah. It was just so funny how,
nice
not
seeing
funny,
you.
like bad. It just sucked.
Funny in a bad way.
Funny in
Yeah.
a bad way. Yeah. 100%. So yeah, that's kind of everything that we would have changed in that regard. I mean, there were some scenes that were recycled. We felt like spitting dinner into the napkin is so classic. Suki not knowing she's pregnant, acting like Kooky Suki, as we called her. We're like kind of having to pep talk Suki into being a mom as she has had to do in the past. Chris finding the letter felt very much like Emily Gilmore finding the carbon from Gran.
Yeah,
in
but like
Raining
not as
Lorelei,
good.
but not nearly as good. But as we move into I'd Rather Be in Philadelphia, we really start to see the caricature nature of some of the townies, specifically Babette. We felt like Babette was really a caricature of herself in this episode. And it could, like, she always brings that levity and comedic relief. This is kind of what we're talking about. I'd Rather Be in Philadelphia, of course, is a serious episode because Richard is in the hospital. And what's more serious than being in a hospital? I mean, a custody battle is probably up there, but
I was like,
custody battle
being in the hospital because you died.
Yeah, that's also true. That's more serious.
I guess if we're elevating.
Yeah. But the caricature nature comes out in Babette coming to the diner to tell Luke that Richard is in the hospital, which makes no
I had forgotten about this.
sense.
I forgot about this because this is when we said it felt like there was an invisible gunman behind her, having her say this to Luke. Because like the way she says it like she's at gunpoint.
Yeah.
That like she's like I it's such an odd delivery. Like this so easily could have been fixed by Luke overhearing a conversation. Like,
and that's what we wrote down.
Anyone,
Patty and Babette, for example, like they could have been talking about it at the diner, and he's like, "Hey guys, what's going on?" And she's like, "Oh, this is a little awkward," but
or like even just be like, "Lorelei's in the hospital."
Yeah, something.
Oh, her dad.
Her dad is in the hospital. Oh, and like it could have been resolved with some just some a little bit of thinky thoughts.
Yeah. And like I could even like imagine that like they're like this comes about. It's like, oh yeah, like April was just in the hospital. Like maybe did this she's at the same one. Yeah. And it's like reminds us that like Lorelai showed up for Luke.
Totally.
And he's gonna show up for her too. Like there's just like I think that's the thing is like there's a lot of suddenness to people's actions that like if they would have just had a little bit more rooted heart to it, that it's like, I'm doing this thing because of this thing.
Totally.
That I'm not just doing things willy-nilly because I have free will. Because you don't have free will on a TV show. You like need to root it in something for us to really see it.
And I'm just disappointed that the writers didn't go, well, how is Luke going to find out? How could he find out in a way that feels natural to the story and in a way that feels natural to Gilmore Girls? Instead, they were like,
we're going to have Babette walk in, eyes wide, hands up. Luke.
I have to tell you
I don't know if I'm supposed to tell you this.
You don't have to tell him anything, actually.
No.
In fact, he should find out some other way. It just it just felt so forced. And I think that just added to the laundry list of reasons why season 7 feels like a character that's out of character. But anyway, as we go to Farewell, My Pet, we've talked about this in our season 7 recap that we really wish this was a Townies episode. We wish that they wouldn't have mocked Michelle's loss so much. We felt like that was out of character for Lorelai, especially having a dog, having Paulinko. Where the hell was he at the funeral? And that there should have been more focus on the funeral, but it was because 2 episodes later we're getting Will You Be My Lorelai Gilmore. That is a big Townies episode. And
yes,
I get it.
And because a lot of this episode is because her and Chris have since broken up. Like just the night before, but like I think this would have been like a really good town coming together for Michelle.
Well, they are breaking
together
up in this
Lorelai.
episode.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Is like she's really distracted, and that's kind of why she's being a little bit crabby about it all. But like you're telling me that Babette would not show up for this. Like, it's like, I would have loved a recycled Cinnamon's Wake. Like,
honestly,
Cinnamon's
same.
Wake part 2 for, is it Chin Chin or Pow Pow?
We still don't remember. Poor thing.
I think it's Jin Jin. But like, I love that Zach learned Celine Dion. I think that's so cute.
Yeah, totally.
I love that everyone's dogs come. I love that Lorelai makes it mandatory for the staff to come. But I just really think that like the town would have come through.
Yeah, I agree. And I understand because we're going to get like, Will You Be My Lorelai Gilmore and Hey Bell Maze. But Hey Bell Maze is
we
also...
have multiple town events?
I agree, especially because that's quite literally what Gilmore, like part of what the foundation of Gilmore Girls is. But by the time we get to Hey Bell Maze, you know, because we don't even really need to talk about Gilmore Girls only. Will You Be My Lorelai Gilmore, we loved. The only thing we didn't love was the Logan conflict, and we're also not loving Logan for honestly the remainder of the season. So let's just put that blanket
I could do a whole
statement.
episode rewriting just Logan in season 7.
And honestly, we could. And we
I'm
will.
so mad at the man. I'm so mad at him.
Yeah,
like,
I know.
I was rooting for you. Me? I was rooting.
She is Tyra Banks, and don't you forget it. But I think that
I'm
on
Logan
the whole...
Huntsberger's Tyra Banks.
Yeah. But I think that on the whole, by the time we get to Hey Bell Maze, the townies felt like set dressing. They didn't feel like characters. They were in Will You Be My Lorelai Gilmore, but in Farewell My Pet and Hey Bell Maze, we could have implemented them more. And I understand that we're also moving towards Bon Voyage, which is also like a town effort, but use the town. Use the town.
You're failing everywhere else. Use the town.
Yeah.
That was kind of harsh, but...
No, but...
Sorry.
And we also felt like Logan needed to meet more of the town in this episode. It was too much disjointedness as separation. Like, why was he so separated and isolated from everybody else in town? It was the whole fucking point of him coming to Stars Hollow.
This man was so fascinated with Taylor Dosey. When a town meeting comes up, the fact that he's not like, let's go.
Yeah.
I want to see Taylor Dosey. Or it's
Absolutely.
like maybe the town meeting comes up and then he learns more about Taylor and they show up at the town meeting where Lorelai's out. It's like, what are you guys doing here? He wanted to see Taylor Dosey.
He just wanted
That's
to
the
see
weirdest
Taylor.
Sentence that anyone has ever said.
But I love the idea of Logan treating Taylor Dosey the way that Lucy and Olivia treat Paris Geller. Like, this is a celeb for them. This is a celebrity sighting. Also, Taylor Dosey would have loved feeling like a celebrity in his own town because he views himself as a celebrity in his own town.
Logan would have donated to some cause.
Yeah.
But not in the way that Chris did.
Not in the way that Chris did in the knit-a-thon.
No,
but I do
he would have
think
gone to the grocery store and bought everything high end.
Yeah.
Like that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Of like Taylor's bagging his groceries, they leave, and like for some reason, Taylor and Logan are like
best
pals.
Friends. Just best.
And it's like the weirdest thing that could have ever happened.
Everybody is very confused. Yeah.
I also would have added in a movie night to that one.
Yes.
Logan needed a movie night.
Yeah, that is what I wrote down here too. More Gilmore Girls vibes, movie night. He needed to get the Max Medina treatment.
Ooh, you know what would have been interesting? I would have loved a parallel between Kiss and Tell and Hey Bell Maze with Lorelai and Dean and Lorelai and Logan. Like kind of like what are your intentions with my daughter?
Totally.
To kind of like build up to that so it's not quite so out of the blue.
Sudden at the end of Lorelai. Maybe he says something to her that has her like on alert. Like he says something that alludes to it, and then Rory comes back in and she's like,
yeah,
what?
Logan watched 2007.
Totally. And then it's just like riding a bike, which was the last episode I have notes on as far as what we would change, because I mean, the last 3 episodes we kind of talked about this in the season 7 recap. Yeah. You can sense what we would like to change, especially Haley. Yeah. But it's just like riding a bike. We really didn't love the Suki Jackson storyline. I think that, you know, basically,
remind me what it was.
It was the dollhouse.
Oh, where he fell in the dollhouse.
Her kids have the chicken pox. He's never had the chicken pox. So she's got to take care of them.
I don't remember if they work with kids or if they work with children in a medical field, that the contagion would have already, like, the contagious period already would have existed.
Exactly.
Like,
he would have had the chicken pox too.
It.
Yeah.
That, like, it was too late, that, like, he would have spread it to Lorelai's house. Like, the spread, like, 100%. Prevent the spread would have been way out the door.
No,
so
I completely
there was that as well.
Agree. But within the narrative, that's what they're going with. And he has to stay, or he is going to stay at a hotel at the end, something. And Lorelai insists that he stays at her house. And Suki's like, he's going to break things and he's going to leave his stuff all over the place. Like, she is really mad at him. And it comes out in a conversation with them, which again is like very clunky, that like she's still mad at him because of the vasectomy. And he's like, just talk to me about this. Like, we have to get past this. And she's like, you know, I get it, but I also just felt like, okay, the vasectomy storyline was like,
I had like forgotten
8
about
episodes
it
ago.
So it's not isolated to season 7 that things happen like that, because it reminds me of like when Suki and Jackson got engaged, and we didn't find out about it until, or rather, we didn't find out about Lorelai knowing about it for several episodes. It wasn't until Emily came to Stars Hollow that episode was where because we never saw Lorelai learn that Suki was engaged. So like this storyline kind of disappeared for a second and then popped back up when it suited the storyline for Suki. I get
that. And that happens a lot in a lot of TV shows, not just this one. But
this one specifically, like, it could have been completely lifted out and had really no bearing on the storyline as a whole.
Or they could have resolved it within that episode.
Yeah. But
instead of, I know that it's a very heavy topic to be resolved, but like bringing it back here was just like, it just felt so... I actually thought the dollhouse like dialogue and everything that happens there really made me laugh. Like when Lorelai comes back and they're sitting on her porch and she's like, we have to tell you something. Like, it really made me laugh. I kind of loved that Suki was treating Jackson like he was her third child, because he kind of acts like it sometimes.
Yes. But recently, this is not like him in the past. I feel like it's they've only kind of dumbed him down to child status.
Yeah.
He's having to be parented this season.
Totally. But to that, a lot of what we really didn't like about It's Just Like Riding a Bike, even though we rated it pretty middle of the road, there were some parts of the episode that we really liked. There were so many one-sided phone calls that made no sense whatsoever.
So random.
It was just, we were watching one person talk to not the other person, and we were so confused as to why. And especially when it came to Lorelai and Luke, who is in the episode, Luke who is like
also Jackson, who's in the episode.
Yes,
because Jackson calls Suki and she's like, what happened? And then we immediately go to Lorelai having a one-sided phone call with Luke, who we've also already seen in the episode. I know.
So weird.
It's so easy.
So weird.
Maybe they didn't have enough time contracted in their contract to be in more of that episode, but maybe they ran out of time shooting. They ran out of the time because they were riding the bike.
Apparently so that's the thing, is that I feel like on the whole season 7 could have taken a lot of the time they spent on these like one-sided phone calls, really dragging out some scenes, like, you know, off the top of my head, it's like, you know, in the Paris episode in French Twist, it's like a lot of yapping, when it's like you could have given us a lot more action, a lot more story.
Well, this show is a lot of yapping. But
it is, but
it's fast yap.
Yeah, it's not slow.
Life short, talk fast is famously the slogan.
Correct. There was just so much air in this season that could have been filled with, and that's why we wanted to take, you know, everything that already existed, and again, the bones that they laid out for us, and be like, how could we have built this foundation differently, in a way that maybe season 7 wouldn't have felt as bad. I'm not saying that we're like, you know, completely fixing it, but I do think a lot of what we just expanded on were easy fixes and things that could have actually made the story a little bit more interesting and a little less bland. A little less sheet cake, a little more layered. But I'm really curious, as we kind of went through all this, if any of these aligned with some of the rewrites that our listeners wanted to also contribute to the story.
100%. I absolutely love our besties, because y'all are just... Some of you had very serious answers. Some of you are just comedians.
I love you for some of the what ifs really made me laugh. I can't wait to read them to you.
Yeah. So the question, I think that I have to pose the question that I posed in order for some of them to feel like they make complete sense. I'm just going to scroll through them, because I've got my iPad here to scroll on. But I said, what would you change /cut /remove /delete /rewrite /alter /toss out the window of a moving vehicle from season 7?
I love the way that's phrased.
The first one we've got the whole season. So many people just said everything, all of it. Get rid of everything. I'd toss everything out the window.
Understandable.
In that same vein, multiple people also said the writers. So that
speaks volumes. Yes,
it does speak. It speaks volumes. Sorry, I realized I started stuttering because the very next one was changing something from season 6. So I will be skipping that one because they wanted to change partings. And we're not going to get into, no, come on, please.
We already did that in a GTC.
Yeah. Another one is there's too much to change for this tiny box.
Oh, yeah, I get it.
But one that we wanted to change was Lane not going on tour as a drummer while Zach went along and she stayed with the kids.
Yes.
Completely cut Christopher, toss Christopher out of a car going 100 miles per hour over a bridge.
Oh, man.
Rewrite Lorelai and Chris marrying. Is it an option to change the whole season? Change the proposal, Lorelai and Christopher together. Logan would have proposed in a grand romantic way, yet private manner, and given her the time to think. Lane's pregnancy, she deserves so much better. The Marty storyline, which we had a lot to say. They would have changed Richard getting sick again. They think that was a repeat that didn't need to happen.
Yeah, I wrote down here that, it's a callback to forgiveness and stuff in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
The pillows, and Lorelai, taking a beat before going in and seeing Richard, Luke being the one to show up to be with her. There are a lot of callbacks to forgiveness and stuff. And I didn't totally mind it, admittedly.
No, I love hospital episodes. You know this about me.
Famously, yeah.
It's like taking it to a new location while maintaining and heightening the drama, but also pulling everyone closer and breaking everyone apart at the same time. Gorgeous. Love it every time.
Yeah.
Have them in every season. Do we have one in every? I don't remember what episode it was. You were like, we should do hospital episodes or people are hurt episodes or
really?
Death. It was death. Death episodes. And then we remembered that.
Because of Stan, Gran, Fran, and Old Man.
I don't remember. We've talked about that a lot. And then we remembered we would have to cover the revival, and we were like, nope. We stopped that one.
Totally.
So many of these are tossing out everything, and most of the answers include Lorelai marrying Christopher. My favorite is multiple people censored his name and put asterisks for some of the letters because they didn't even want to say his full name.
Screaming.
But it's changing everything, changing Lane's storyline. Most people said that. And Lorelai and Christopher getting married. A lot of people surprisingly dropped Jess in.
I know. A lot of people did it in the what if as well.
And the thing is they don't elaborate. And I'm just like, what?
Well, I think that they expanded
girlies?
probably because we put the what if question up first. So I think that
that's
the
fair.
what if kind of, superseded some of the rewrites or preceded them so that they thought they were kind of connected in that way. Yeah, there were some what if Jess Mariano what if season 7 Jess Mariano storylines, like him coming back for the graduation party, him, showing up for her graduation because he had missed her graduation in season 3. Do you think that would have been a little random because we don't see him for the whole season? But yeah.
Yeah. The only other one, there's the one that is the most written after those was that Rory should have said yes.
How do you feel about that?
Nope. Rory should not have said yes.
Well,
I watched that season.
I know. Can we rewind for a second and talk about... Let's go back.
There was one other thing I did want to mention, though, that we didn't mention, and I don't know if we talked about it.
Okay.
On purpose. Didn't talk about it on purpose. And it was someone wanted to delete Luke dating April's swim coach.
Yeah. I would delete that. That was kind of weird. But I did appreciate that he was trying to put himself out there.
But not with her.
Not necessarily
she
with
was
her.
A predator.
She absolutely was. But him trying to date and put himself out there, I think, was smart of the writers.
I'm into it.
Yeah. They kind of needed to.
She was a vegan predator.
And she completely was.
Oxymoron. Anyway. Yeah. But yes, going back to the proposal. That was something I wanted to say.
Is there a proposal that would have felt better for you and would have put you in the position to root for Rory to say yes? If we're rewriting season 7, what is a better proposal for Logan than the one that we actually got in Unto the Breach?
Well, I think that the proposal I think that the proposal is really only half the problem. It was the build up to it. It was the circumstances surrounding it that in Hay Bale Maze, he was like, don't want you to factor me in. You do what you want to do, and then I'll factor you in. Like, I am going to chase after you is kind of what it felt like. And then the next thing we know about Logan's career is he's in San Francisco. And it's like, okay, my dude, you're taking meetings out in San Francisco. When have you ever heard Rory Gilmore say, you know what, I was considering San Francisco?
Exactly.
I don't know why she wasn't. Great town. Never been. Here you have the Golden Bridge. Really want to see it. But I don't know why that was like the response to that. Very confused by that. I really didn't like the circumstances that Lorelai knew first that he had gotten a job. He wasn't going to tell Rory about it until after the proposal. That's not how you start life. You don't ask someone, hey, you want to spend the rest of my life with me, our lives together, married, and then tell them everything that they need to know.
Totally.
Like, it's like, oh, okay, now we're engaged, but I'm moving to San Francisco. Oh, that feels like a test. Like, do you want to be with me regardless? Okay, cool. Well, I'm moving to San Francisco. Do you want to come?
Yeah.
And if
not do you want to come? I've already made plans for you to come.
And that's the thing is like, we're going to have an avocado tree. You're going to come with me. And if you don't come with me, we're done.
Yeah.
Just take your yes back and say no. And so I think I did need some sort of like build up to it. I think I needed him to step back, and maybe the drama of it is that Logan starts looking for a job in New York, finds a job in New York, and Rory doesn't get the New York Times fellowship.
Ooh.
And that's like, oh, I decided this based on what you wanted. But like, not like in a, hey, now I'm stuck here sort of way. But it was like, I planned my future around you. And like setting it up that way, that I think I need some sort of setup. I think that's why like maybe during movie night, I would have loved to hear more about his intentions of like, yeah, I love your daughter. I really want to be with her. Maybe forever. Like something along those lines. It doesn't feel so cheesy coming out of his mouth.
Alludes to it.
Yeah,
totally. I get that.
Because I just really hated the way that he was like out in San Francisco and like, don't worry that you didn't get the New York Times. Everything's going to be looking up in just a few days because I'm going to propose and this is all going to be behind us and we're going to be making guacamole. Like it just feels really.
I'm making guacamole.
We can have avo toast. It doesn't matter.
Guacamole. Yeah,
exactly. So I think that I needed stability and follow through and like some consistency from what he had already said to what he was doing.
Totally.
Because like having be like, I'm going to factor you in. Now I'm in San Francisco. Oh, how did I get here? No one knows. No one knows why. And I know that's like tech company, Palo Alto, like that whole thing. But I feel like it would have made way more sense for him to be like, I'm factoring you in. Your dreams, New York. Me too. I'm going there. Gets a job. And now she doesn't have a job in New York. I think that would have been interesting conflict. I think it would have been like, hey, I am factoring you in. I'm going to propose. Because I would have loved for like a private proposal. I think that would have been great.
Yeah.
Would have been great if she said yes.
I'm a fan of a private proposal.
Yeah. I think she would have said yes. I think they could have had like a little celebration in regards to it. And I think it would have been made way more sense for them to have been engaged at the end of season 7. And then when we get to the revival to have them broken up.
Yeah.
I think that would have been chef's kiss.
Totally.
But would 15-year-old me appreciate that? No. But I think that would have changed the trajectory of my teenage years if Logan and Rory would have gotten engaged.
Really?
I don't know. I was distraught. That was my show.
Yeah.
I probably wouldn't have read quite as much fan fiction as I did at that age.
Yeah, probably.
I probably would have. I would have been so satisfied.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Had you had the satisfaction, I get that.
Yeah.
Totally.
But no, I
totally
really
understand.
truly think that the bulk of it, like the proposal fucking sucked. But the circumstances of the proposal were horrible too.
Yeah, totally.
You're proposing
Totally
to me at a
agree.
party you didn't even throw for me? Full of people I don't even
Full
know.
of people, in front of people I don't even know. You're putting me on the spot. We haven't even talked about this.
Also, no one you know is here.
Truly.
Where's your friends?
Where are your friends?
Where's Honor? Why isn't Honor at my graduation?
Yeah. Weird.
She wasn't available?
Guess not.
So,
No,
what do you
so
think?
with you. I agree with you. I don't know that I agree with you that like I don't think that he did it right, and I don't think he did it in a way that made me want her to say yes. The whole season would have had to change in order for me to feel, because like for all intents and purposes, it's okay that they're heading in that direction. And we talked about this a lot on Patreon that like, yeah, she is really young. And that's probably a huge factor in maybe why she didn't feel like comfortable enough to say yes. She does say that, but she doesn't talk enough about how their relationship isn't steady enough for the two of them to get married. And I don't think that's acknowledged enough in season 7 in the way that we've talked a lot about how the writers of season 7 relied so heavily on season 6's foundation, especially of Rory and Logan's relationship, and season 5, of course, but they like were kind of in the throes of getting together. Season 6 is when they really are together.
They're like tested, come back together, tested, come back together.
But they're relying solely on that chemistry, that foundation, those conversations to effectively push us as an audience through their storyline to get us on board with the idea that they're going to get married at the end of it. All the while, Logan's character is so disjointed, where he is, what he's doing, like how he's points. Yeah, how he's choosing to treat Rory, what he's saying to her about their future. And it's way too all over the place and disconnected that like by the end of the season, unless you were in that place where you were 15 and you loved them and you just like really didn't have a firm grasp, you had a 15-year-old grasp and understanding of what a healthy relationship looked like.
This man asked you.
Exactly. Look at him. And the same goes for me with Jess. You know, like when I was younger and I was really rooting for the two of them, still am, I didn't have a firm grasp on what a healthy relationship looked like. And so, of course, I'm like, yeah, go with this guy. He loves you. But there's so much more nuance to that. And I think as women in our 30s, we can now look at it and go, I'm so glad you said no to that proposal. You guys were not ready to get married.
Exactly.
But, you know, I do think that had the season gone differently, maybe I would have a different opinion. Had the season and the proposal gone differently, I may have been like, yeah, I think, because I've said famously that I think that Rory and Logan's relationship for a time was the healthiest one she had had as an adult woman. And so for all intents and purposes, it was kind of one of the best relationships to see her in outside of, you know, her relationship with Dean and like that being young love. Her relationship with Jess was obviously rocky, but really fun to watch. But Logan felt like it kind of struck that balance of like, oh, first true long-term relationship that feels like it could head in the direction of marriage. And they fucked it up in season 7.
Yeah, like I'd say the beginning of season 7, like up until episode 7, really. Like I feel like, yeah, you guys could do this. And then he yells at her and I'm like, sleep with one eye open. If we're keeping things the same.
Not one eye open.
If we're keeping things the same, like structurally, when it gets to the proposal, I've always had this like fan fiction-y moment of like Lorelai, when he's like, I think you want to stick around for this, is Lorelai being like, don't do it.
I know.
Not here. And like takes him aside and they're riding in the carriage together. Mm-hmm. And she's like, why do you think now's the right time? Like you didn't even tell her that you got a job. You like that's not any way to build.
You guys even had a conversation, and I wish we had maybe seen the expansion of that. I just love that. That's the only way I can hear that word.
I hope that everyone, all of our besties, remember that as well as we do.
Hello, I hope so. If not, look it up. The expansion, Suki. The expansion. I really wish that there had been more expansion on. Like in Unto the Breach at the beginning, like maybe we picked up with the Lorelai and we get to see what Lorelai's response was to him. Yeah. Because she should have said all of these things to him before the potential for a carriage ride, before the potential for him to propose in front of everybody she doesn't know.
Spontaneous. Like he's just like so full of love and he wants to do it right now. But then you go outside and there's a horse and carriage and you're like, oh. This is what you planned?
No, you planned this.
How long has I been waiting outside? all the guests see it when they walked in.
Yeah, and they were a little confused. They were like, is this a themed party?
Is this for us? It's kind of small. There's quite a few of us here. Is this a themed party? Should I dress like a knight? But yeah, I think that there could have been a way that she could have said yes. It would have required some restructuring to the stability of Logan's character.
Yeah.
As is, though, no. I'm glad she said no.
It's a no.
The goodbye, Rory. Oh,
goodbye, Rory.
It's been nice. That's gonna be stuck in my head. That's one of my favorite performances in television.
So good. Okay, so in realizing how long this episode has gotten, and because we're recording what y'all listened to last week tomorrow, we're going to actually put some of the serious what ifs in that episode. So you'll have already heard some of them, but I want to read. You'll already know what they are. We don't know what they are, but we want to read. I want to read to you.
But
we do, but we don't.
Yeah.
I want to read to you some of the what ifs that just like absolutely made me giggle. Ryan said, what if Zach got eternally lost in the hay bale maze? Those burgers never would have been delivered.
He can never find his way out.
With like the emoji is so good. What if Kirk
became crying emoji?
Exactly.
If you're not on YouTube.
Tara
did make the face if you want to come see it.
Yeah. What if Kirk became the next town troubadour?
Or they have like a competition.
Yeah. What if
we can't. Not after we've since talked to him. I cannot wait for y'all to hear that episode.
Wait, Ryan was also killing me because she said, what if Miss Patty opened Stars Hollow first?
Why did you say I love her?
What?
You said I love her.
Ryan. Ryan is a girl.
Oh, I thought you meant Grant Lee. Sorry.
No. Ryan is also cracking me up. I love her. She said, what if Miss Patty opened Stars Hollow's first burlesque strip club? Talk about a spring fling. I'm dead.
Oh my.
Oh.
That would be great. Well, what if?
Honestly, would be really fun. Brett Thiel would love that. He'd love a spring fling. Okay, last one, because this really made me laugh. Rachel said, what if Rory wasn't so dumb? Sad face. And I knew you would love that one.
What if she wasn't?
Listen,
she's
I don't think
smart.
She's very smart. And I don't think that she's necessary. I mean, it was very, as we just discussed at length, she was very smart to say no to Logan's proposal.
Yes.
So
very smart.
She's very smart. But some of these other what ifs are really, really good. I'm excited to have already talked to you about them by the time this episode airs.
My favorite part of this is that, like, it seems planned because this happened last week for y'all. So you're like, oh yeah, they started it with what ifs. But we just talked, there were so many things we wanted to rewrite for this. And back when we first started this and we were asking for like episode suggestions, everyone was always like, what would you rewrite about season 7? Or like do a season 7 rewrite. And we have just been waiting to get to the end of our season 7 rewatch, and it's taken us a couple of years.
But we
so
finally
it made
got
sense
here.
that we couldn't stop yapping enough to do the what ifs, but we have already done them at this point in your life.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. But not in our lives. So we're going to record that tomorrow. But we are moving really quickly. I know that we just talked about it at the beginning of this episode that like August is here, means we're moving very quickly towards back to school season, towards fall. We're very excited about that. We're also moving towards the end of summer, and we're going to do a couple of just general Gilmore to considers to really round out the summer. Listen to your voicemails, listen to your thoughts.
Voicemail.
We have
answering machine, if you will.
busy answering machine. So we're going to go through those messages and we're going to listen and we're going to pick some spicy takes, some really interesting topics, and share those with you over the next couple weeks.
And we'll have more to say on that in the next episode.